Okay, whenever you're ready. I'm ready. Okay?
Yep.
Okay, welcome class. This is the Marine Communications course you'll be taking, where you learn the International Code of Signals with this textbook here, which is for all mariners across the world in order to allow them to communicate through the language barriers that exist in the international marine community. If there is an emergency and the other vessels cannot communicate with you in English, then the code of flag signals will allow them to communicate with you and to resolve any emergencies that you may have or any assistance that you require from that other vessel. Throughout this course, you will learn that there is a set of flags for all the letters and numbers, and you will be expected to memorize and know those flags. In fact, I want you to get a set of file cards and make your own set of flags so that you can practice every day. When I was coming up and took this course, that's how we were required to start learning these flags, and we practice every day. And that will be expected of you guys, to get to know your flags, and then you will get introduced to this book, which has your single letter meanings, the complements, which are to enable you to communicate with other messages that are related to the emergencies, or to range and bearing and directions of the other vessel that is in assistance. And there are procedures that we will review in terms of how to start it and how to end signaling. So we'll just introduce you to the fact that we have a PowerPoint, and our D2L page is available here, and I will show you that the various lessons are here. You have your PowerPoint. The flags will be there. Here's a PowerPoint on how to signal. The communication manual and Morse code signals are all there. Later on in the course, we will be going over the radio signals books and the list of lights and buoys, notice to mariners, and sailing directions. Your course work plan is also available on the D2L, which is accessible to you guys at any time. So I want to introduce you first of all to the code of signals and the flags, and this is the introduction to the flags, which I will go over briefly. Again, I'll turn up the lights here just for a little better. So, again, you will be expected to memorize and learn the single letter meaning of these flags. And this flag is, as it says, M for Mike, is the phonetics. You will also be expected to learn the phonetics of each letter and number. And for M, it is Mike, and the single letter meaning is, my vessel is stopped and making no way through the water. So each flag has its own unique single letter meaning, and then in order to communicate more complex signals, you will do multiple letter signals, which you learn to code and decode through this book. And the book also has various sections that give you a guidance as to where to look for the various types of topics that are required when you are into emergency situations. So if you go to the table of contents, you will see there is the general section. The first thing they deal with is distress, because I want to again provide you guys with the scope of the importance that these flags represent if you're in an emergency situation, that this could be the last resort as to how you will be able to communicate with another vessel if you're in waters anywhere outside of North America where language barriers could well be an issue with making sure that you get the right support to deal with your emergency. So when you look at the book, it deals with distress and emergencies in the beginning. Then the next section deals with casualties of the vessels and the various types of emergencies related to the vessels. Then it goes on to talk about aids to navigation, maneuvers of the vessel to deal with working with the vessel. It talks about meteorology and weather and the communications in terms of the procedures for communications, how to signal, how to communicate with each other. And then the big section on medical, because as you can imagine, if there is someone injured on your vessel, there can be some very complicated communication that's required in terms of describing the nature of the person's injuries or the possible treatment of that casualty. So we will be doing exercises where you practice coding up and coding down in the various sections, and then we will have some very dedicated ones for the medical section, because that, of course, will be when you're into some of the most urgent communication requirements, right? You've got a buddy there, he's bleeding out, and you will want to make sure that if there is a doctor on the other vessel, that he knows what the problem is and how he might be able to help you out, right? So this book is critical. It will find it on the bridge of every vessel that you sail on, and it is used not very often, fortunately, because as I said, it is mostly in an emergency response and in the situations where language is a barrier. But in the marine industry, it does require that English is spoken by senior officers, but that doesn't mean it's their first language, and there is going to be some room for misinterpretation, misunderstandings, whereas when you put up a flag, that flag signal is very clear as to what it means. So I want you guys to take your flags now, and I'm going to get you to practice coding and coding up and coding down once we go over the procedure section. So we'll go into the procedure section here, and I'll read that section off to you in terms of how to signal, right? And once we do that, then you guys will do an exercise here to demonstrate how you understand this procedure to go on. So as it says here, I'll turn on the lights here again and allow everybody to see their books a little better. And as you can see, I have given you, I've broken the class up into 2 teams now, and you each have a complete set of signaling flags in which to work together to practice your coding and decoding. And once we review the procedures for signaling, we will go through an exercise for you people to practice your signaling procedures and to practice coding up and decoding signals from another station. So as I said, the first thing we'll learn to do is how to signal, and as it says, you will indicate you understand what the vessel is saying by raising your hoist, the answering pennant at the dip when you see the other person raise their signal, and then when you understand that signal, you will then raise the answering pennant to the top of the hoist, at which time they understand that you understand your signal. They will lower their flags, and you will lower your answering pennant, and then the next signal will be sent, and it will repeat itself through this scenario so that you can practice communicating back and forth with each other. So are we all ready to try that now? Okay. I've given you out your practice scenarios, and this will be the team that will start the signaling, and this will be the receiving team, and they will respond in kind with their flags. Okay, gentlemen, start your engines. Hold it up so she can see it a little longer. Okay. So as you can see, both teams have a complete set of flags, and they get to practice doing the signaling back and forth, coding and decoding the messages that are on the exercise sheet. And once they get familiar with this, then there will be a variety of exercises that they will look up that I provide them each class. Okay, let her get a shot of that, and then she will get your answer. So as I said, I give them coding exercises also, and while they are doing their coding exercises, I walk around the class and I provide them with the trick shot where they have to answer my question as well as to what that particular flag is while they're doing their various exercises. I don't want to interrupt, let them carry on with their demonstration at this point, but I just want to point out that I do continue to use these flags to keep reinforcing the notion that these flags are something they have to look at every day in order to make sure that they are indelibly etched in their brain and they get used to the practice and the procedures. Charlie Bravo, number 2.
I understand.
And you'll note you have the teams where one person works the flags and the other person does the coding and decoding. So they work together just as they would in real life. Now, throughout this process, as you can imagine, you only have one set of flags, and you often have signals that repeat letters. So we have what's called substitutes. And these substitutes are used to repeat letters that are needed for the various signals. And they have been taught how to use these substitutes. You have a first, second, and third substitute which are used in this process, and they learn how to use those substitutes when required. So you'll note that they are using what's called the answering pennant to acknowledge the receipt of the signal from the other signaling station. This is part of the procedure that allows them to complete their communication with each other. This demonstrates that they understand the signal that has been sent from the other station. You guys almost done?
That was the last.
That's the last of the signaling exercise. So I want to thank you guys for that. And that would conclude the exercise. Then we would go on to do some coding up and coding down through the book. Just pretend this is a code, it's actually communication. We'll just actually get you guys to practice coding up and coding down. And then while you do that, I'll just go around with my mini quiz to demonstrate how, while you're working on your codes, I just keep prompting you for your knowledge of this.
That is Tango?
Tango, yep, very good.
That is Yankee.
And the meaning?
The meaning is. What's the meaning, Steve? Help me out.
Dragging anchor. Dragging your anchor. That is correct. Mitchell.
That would be whiskey.
Whiskey.
I require medical assistance.
I require medical assistance.
Bravo.
Bravo.
Discharging or loading dangerous goods.
Discharging or loading dangerous goods. Okay. Back to Stephen.
That's Sideways Juliet,
A Juliet.
and I believe that's You're on Fire.
I am on fire. Keep well clear. Yeah? Okay. And one more for Mr. Austin.
Foxtrot, I'm disabled, communicate with me.
Very good. And so I continue to go through the class while they do their exercises, and every class right through the entire term, I will walk around the classroom and prompt the students and to remind them how important it is to have these flags and their single letter meaning absolutely indelibly etched in their brains. Thank you.